Oh,
The doors are open. Welcome everyone. You know, I say this every time, have a seat, but old habits are hard to break. Have a seat, stand up, do whatever, grab your coffee. We'll be starting in about 4 minutes.
let me see. I'm checking everybody. Jeenah, how are you doing?
I'm good, surviving. Thanks so much. How are you?
Hi,
Good to see you.
Same to you. Same to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we're just, we're just making it do,
It's okay. Hanging there. Yeah, hanging there. Yeah.
There's a dog in the conversation as well. Your dog.
Whose dog is that? Is that yours, Brent?
No.
Oh, that's
a small dog.
Do you hear a dog?
Yeah.
It's our neighbor's dog.
You know, but this is the new reality. Dogs, cats, children, that's all part of Zoom right now.
Yeah. Cola's gonna probably make a cameo at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure my daughter will come in. Welcome everyone joining us on Facebook and here on Zoom. We're going to start in about 2 minutes.
All right. And then Xyza, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm on strict quarantine right now. I'm isolated for day 6. It's driving me crazy.
I would like to say I'm sorry. I'm just like strict quarantine is different. For, like, at least I can like go outside, but like y'all who've actually been to the front line and felt with the nurses, man, that's rough. But also it's well worth it because that work was absolutely phenomenal and amazing. So I'm gonna completely geek out on that later. Just to let you know from the start. Just to let you know.
Yeah, like it's so bad that I took a nap today. I don't take naps, and I'm just like, what am I gonna do? all I see is like my room. I don't know why the dog doesn't want to shut up. I'm sorry, that's not our dog, so I don't have any control over it.
It's fine. The dog wants to tell his part of the side of the story. Like this is what my lockdown has been like.
How's that? Is it better?
That's great.
Yeah. That's better. Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Look at that. We have 93 participants. Wow.
Yeah. We did this in the morning to see how what kind of participation we would have from around the world. I've been doing these at about 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights, and a lot of people from Europe and all over were writing me, hey, it's too late for us. So we'll try this and see how it goes. If you're from outside of the U.S., drop us a line in chat and tell us where you're from. All right, we're going to
Nigeria and Manila. Nice.
We're going to start this thing.
Iceland.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning here in the United States for a discussion about photojournalism on the front lines of a pandemic. My name is Joe Newman, and I'm the founder and executive director of Focus on the Story. We're a nonprofit based here in Washington, D.C., with a mission to support visual storytelling that has a social impact. And obviously today's conversation fits that bill. It is perhaps, it's the biggest story of our lifetime, really is. And these folks who are joining us today are all photojournalists, and I should also say they're all independent photojournalists who are working out there to get this story out with an impact that oftentimes goes far beyond what words and stats can give us. And I think that's a critical part of moving people to action and getting this on, getting the real story out. Let's see. I encourage you to ask questions during our conversation. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a Q&A function. Please put your questions in there. You can drop them in chat as well, but obviously there's a lot of action in chat and we may miss it. So drop your questions in chat. For those on Facebook, you can also ask us questions, and Chantal Wong, who is monitoring our Facebook, will drop them in our chat. I will unmute people when we get to the Q&A period at the end of our discussion, or towards the end of our discussion, the last half hour, I'll unmute you and let you ask the question yourself. So tonight's moderator is Brent Lewis. Brent, I first met Brent about 2 years ago. He was a last-minute fill-in at our first Focus on the Story Photo Festival. I think it was James Estrin was supposed to be moderating a talk with Georges Salwan Georges, and Brent came in at the last moment. He was in Washington at the time as a photo editor, but I think he was here for just about a minute. He's now working out of New York City as a photo editor on the New York Times business desk. He is co-founder of Diversify.photo, and he likes to brag about being from the greatest city in the world, Chicago. We'll have a discussion about that later. I think there might be some debate there. Brent has also been the senior photo editor of ESPN's The Undefeated, where he drove the visual language of the website based around the intersection of sports, race, and culture. He's also worked as a photojournalist at several papers around the country, including Denver and the Rockford Register. Brent, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's your show. Take it away.
All right. Well, first off, I'd like to thank everyone for being up with, up with us this early, and then also just having a good afternoon or having a good evening. Just thank you everyone for coming by. This is, my tone is going to definitely be all over the place just because I'm a very poppy person, but this is not one of those light and poppy subjects I'm used to dealing with. We have a group of amazing photojournalists from across the globe, and I really am looking forward to hearing their stories. I, like many of us, have been kind of in the house. We've been quarantined. We haven't been able to see what's actually going on the front lines of this pandemic. And we have been, but we've been lucky enough to be able to understand what's going on, the weight of the individuals being affected, what our first responders are doing through the eyes of photojournalists like the people we have in front of us right now. So without further ado, let me introduce our amazing panel. So first up, we have Xyza Cruz Bacani, is based in Hong Kong, but has been working in her native Philippines covering the coronavirus story. She uses her work to raise awareness about underreported stories, focused on the plight of migrant workers. She is a former Magnum Foundation Fellow, a Pulitzer Center grantee, and serves as a Fuji Film Ambassador, She was one of the BBC's 100 Women of the World in 2015, 30 Under 30 Women Photographers 2016, and Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia 2016. If you haven't checked out our work, this is your moment to go start dual screening. Actually, no, just start dual screening everybody's work. This is the intro, so no shame right now. No shame right now. But as soon as we get started, put the phones down. Put the phones down. Next up is my guy, David D. Delgado. Is a Puerto Rican independent photographer based in New York City, mainly focusing on documentary and photojournalism. The interest of learning and his desire to help people made him realize the necessity of documenting surroundings and broadening the conversation with the use of the camera. His work is part of the Jerome Workers Project, which if you haven't checked that book out from the BDC, please go see. I don't think you can even get a copy anymore. So basically, if you know somebody, go ahead and get that. It's hot. The Bronx Documentary Project, Bronx by Bronx, No Longer Empty, Eddie Adams 30, and the 71st Missouri Photo Workshop. His clients include the New York Times, Getty, Reuters, boo. I'm kidding, I love Reuters. ProPublica, Rose. Hey, I got some beef. Reuters be scooping me. Anthony Bourdain's Part Unknown, Newsday, Gothamist, Wall Street Journal, and ESPN's The Undefeated. That's the logo for The Undefeated. Just saying, I ran that one. Also, I'm a little jealous that I got to be at the end of all that. Just saying, no judgment. And many others as well. He's a recipient of the 2017 Nikon Bill Ephrich Award for Excellence in Truth in Photographic Journalism. Next up, we have Gabriele. Oh, I'm gonna butcher. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. Oh, no, I'm Miss Hamada. Okay, let me go back. Whew. See, I was preparing myself for Gabriele's name. All right, so we have Hamada Elrasam. Is a Cairo-based freelance documentary photographer, photojournalist, videographer who covers humanitarian stories with critical and creative eye, from the painful legacies of the Egyptian Revolution and the Rwanda genocide to the front lines of Europe's migration crisis on the Greek island Lesbos. He has dedicated his practice to the advancement of social journalism and human rights. Next up, okay, I got this. Put me in the game, coach. Put me in the game. All right, Gabriele Galimberti. Ooh, close enough. Yes, I'm practicing that. You don't know how many hours I put in that. You have no clue. It's an Italian photographer who has spent the last few years working on long-term documentary photo projects around the world, some which have become books such as Toy Stories. Gotta check that out. In Her Kitchen, My Couch is Your Couch, and The Heavens. Gabriele is currently traveling the globe, working on solo and shared projects, well as on assignment for international magazines and newspapers such as Nat Geo, The Sunday Times, Stern, Geo Le Monde, La Repubblica, and Marie Claire. His pictures have been exhibited in shows worldwide, such as known festival images and, ooh, I haven't heard that one. We gotta talk. I don't know what that one's at. Vivi, Switzerland, Les Rencontres de la Photographie. Did I close enough? And the renowned V&A Museum in London. Okay, and last but not least, we have Jeenah, aka Miss Clutch. She knows I'm gonna throw that in there, but if Jeenah has saved my butt on so many occasions, it's you have no clue. She's a photographer based in New York City who was raised and born in Seoul, South Korea. She graduated from the International Center of Photography in 2014, where she was awarded the Dow Jones Scholarship. She's a contract photographer for the New York Times, Bloomberg, Reuters, NBC News, and the Washington Post. She's also a member of Diversify. I'm a photograph. She has been working on projects which address pressing social issues and the capacity of this type of medium to capture the most meaningful, engaging, and even impactful visual imagery. So those are our panelists. I just want to, again, thank you all for being here and hanging out with us this morning, afternoon, or evening. Two things before we even get started. Thank you all for what you're doing. Like, it means so much, you have no clue. Just the stories that we've been able to see from you all's lenses allows us to understand what's going on with this pandemic, and honestly allows us to be informed but not be in danger. So while we're doing our parts of staying at home and staying away from other people and social distancing, y'all are going out there and telling the stories that need to be told, and for that I am forever thankful. And the second thing, I was going down y'all bios recently, and so I found that all y'all are older than me right now, which makes me very happy because I've been popping up on panels recently when I've been like the oldest person on the panel. So I just thank y'all in advance. So let's get this started. Let's get this rolling with some few questions. Let's start off with, I just want to understand, like, everyone on this panel is around the globe and has actually had the chances of seeing this pandemic roll out where they are, and it's all been different timings. We have Xyza, who at that moment we were rolling out, you were in the Philippines. I don't think you were in. Were you in the Philippines yet, or were you in Hong Kong when it first started rolling out?
I think I was in Hong Kong when we first met. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, when the pandemic first started rolling, like when you first.
Oh, I was in New York.
Oh my.
I was
like,
there.
You're like, I'm good. Well, I kind of wanted like just start with you in a way, just because you have the closest connection to like to Hong Kong when it comes to like being your home base. And then your work wound up being in the Philippines. But I really want to kind of understand how everyone. Let me just back up. All right, so this is one of those rare, super, super rare events that the world in general is going to deal with and has dealt with. Like, this is not one of those like 9/11s where it's just a New York thing, or Ebola where it wound up just being stuck in Africa overall. This is something that we're all kind of dealing with. So I kind of want to start with Xyza and just kind of understand how you first heard about it and how that took you in direction doing your work. And then also I want to go to Gabriele because Italy want to be the next hotspot. So just kind of give me an idea of like how you first heard about it and what made you go ahead and start working.
So I first heard about it while I was in Hong Kong last December, actually, because we already know about it last December, and it was, it was part of a dinner conversations like, oh, there's a virus in China happening in China, and then by January it became. Then I flew to New York, and then it just blew up like in Wuhan. And I was like, I need to go back to Asia because, well, I don't have health insurance. If it happens in the US, I'll probably die. So I was like, I need to go back to Asia. So I went back to Hong Kong, and it was okay, still okay at that time. But my mom said, you should go back to the Philippines because half of my family is in Hong Kong, half is in the Philippines. And she said, you need to look after your dad because my dad is the one who's high risk in the family. So I went back here, and I thought it was just like a short assignment because I have an assignment for a magazine. So I just have like one small luggage and one small camera, one camera that I brought because I thought I can go back to Hong Kong immediately. But then they just closed the border. So I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go back to the province. So this past couple of months for me, the experience was, I feel like I was running away from it. So I went from Hong Kong to New York to back to Hong Kong, then the Philippines. So I just made the decision that why am I running from this? Like my years in Hong Kong, living in Hong Kong, prepared me for this because because of the SARS experience. Like a lot of people are asking, like, where do you get your PPE? And I'm like, well, it's part of my bag because it's just that it happened before in Hong Kong, and then because of the protests as well, so a mask is always in my bag. So it made me a prepper. So I made a difficult decision of going out on the field, and I have not seen my dad. I have not been in the same room with my dad since February. And he's so near, but so far. That's how it affected me personally, to be honest.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. This is one of those tough stories where like it's, I think for so much of our careers and the work that you all do, it's kind of like you go out someplace and you tell that story and then you come back and like your family's safe, your home's safe, but like people that we know and love like are in this, and it just brings this extra layer. Gabriele, I want to know like your side of the story as well. Like, so what was like, because Italy wound up being the next hotspot.
Yeah, I mean, my story is it's a bit weird because I photographed in Milano. So I found myself in Milano like a month ago, but I was there not because I live there, because I'm from Tuscany. So I was in Milano the 7th of March because I was supposed to fly to the Philippines, actually. I was supposed to go there for an assignment for National Geographic. But 6 hours before, let's say 8 hours before my flight, my editor called me from DC and he told me, don't go. You have to stay home because something is happening, and the epidemic is exploding in the Philippines. So stay home, stay safe. And so I decided to stay in Milano. Actually, not decided, but I found myself there. And the same day, the same night, I turned on the TV, and our prime minister was speaking to the country and saying, the epidemic has arrived in Italy as well. And Milano is going to lock down, and so I couldn't go out of the city. I couldn't come back home, which is Florence for me home. Right now I'm in Florence, and so I found myself stuck in Milano, and I decided to keep on working because I decided to be a photojournalist like 15 years ago, and I told to myself, what's happening now, it's probably the biggest thing that I ever experienced, and I mean the planet has ever experienced. So my work and my desire was, I have to document what's happening here. And for the first 5 or 6 days of the epidemic, when everything was happening in Milano, and we were the first country, I mean, the first Western country to be hit by the virus. So everything was new, and nobody knew what to do. And so I tried to be a street photographer, which is not really my style. I'm more like a portrait photographer. So for the first 4 or 5 days, I was going out every day, taking photos of the city, like empty squares. I was trying to get what was the reaction of people to something so new. But every night I was going back home, checking my photos, and I was not really happy with the result of my photos because, as I told you already, I'm not really a street photographer. So doing that kind of picture was not satisfying for my eyes, my desires. And then one night I called one of my best friends. He lives in Milano, and I told him, you know, I'm having like a kind of a photographic crisis because I don't like my photos. I don't like what I'm doing. Can I come and can we have dinner together and have a chat? Because I need some, you know, I need somebody to talk about what I'm doing here. And he said, of course not. I'm not gonna let you in my house. You cannot come here. I said, whoa, wow. Even my best friend is not allowing me in his house. And in that moment, I had the idea of photographing my friends through the windows, their windows, because I said somehow I want to take photos that could represent how distant we are now, even with friends. And so I made some phone calls to other friends, and I said, I want to meet you, but don't worry, I'm not coming to your house. I'm not coming in. I'm staying outside. I just want to take some photos from the outside of your windows. And few of them answered positively, and so that's what I did basically. I photographed, I would say, around 15 people, and the way I did was simply asking them to bring inside my flashlights. So I left my lights outside of their window. They brought the lights inside. Everything was clean and sanitized. And so I took these portraits that you are seeing now. And together with the journalist, she was coming with me. She also interviewed these people. And so we collect photos and stories of quarantines, because, you know, everybody is living this moment in a different way. Like some of them have stories of fear, other ones have stories of love, because maybe they were together in the same house together for the first time. They found couples that are experiencing living together for the first time in this weird period. And nothing. So this project is going to be published in National Geographic next June. So I'm happy that they wanted to be part of my
Nice, nice.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, it was, yeah, what I love about the work was just, I love your story about how you're like, I had to go about this one way, and it just didn't feel right, because that wasn't your space. Like, it wasn't your usual thing to go out and do street photography or document in a certain way, but like you took your strength and you actually used that to create some amazing work that I think has that same level of impact as you're gonna get from like Dee's work in front of the hospitals, or Jeenah's silent streets from just in New York City. So that's just kudos to you for that one. I just wanted to say that for everyone to hear, but like kudos. I really, really think it's lovely and brilliant. All right, so I'm gonna say my New York folks for last. But Hamada, so how's it been for you in Egypt? Because I remember hearing stories early on that like the continent of Africa was going to possibly be spared from a lot of it, but now I feel like over the past month, as everything's changed. Everything's changed. So how has it been for you on the ground? What has your situation been like?
Hello everyone first. Thank you for having me today. So I have covered the coronavirus pandemic, or the COVID-19 pandemic on several stages. I have been covering it, like how it's impacting people on like different levels, how people are getting affected and how people are getting the news like by time. So like people like didn't believe that there is pandemic at the very beginning, and they thought it will be fine. This is something just for certain type, like certain people. It's never gonna affect us. And then by days or by time, people start to recognize that things are getting more serious, and nobody is away from that. I was somehow like, as a normal human being, like I thought like things will be fine. Things should be fine at some point. And uh, I have heard that things are like going very, like the pandemic or the virus is spreading very quickly. And I thought like maybe I go and check if that is true or not. I went to the first image that you see in my collection is about a group of people, like seems they are in a festival. That was the Sun Festival. It's a touristic event where people from all over the planet come to attend that event here in Egypt at Abu Simbel Temple. It's a very fun festival. It's a night long and other day. Main people coming for this event are from East Asia because it's related to the sun. Some people who worship the sun, they come for actual religious rituals there. And since that pandemic was hitting this area at the very beginning, I thought like maybe that would be good testing for the water. I went and asked people like why they are not coming. Is tourists are like the tourist count is dropping down or not? And that was actually the case. Like I found like for locals, they were very happy. It was the same normal like life. They were celebrating. But for international tourists, many didn't attend the event. And like I compared the numbers that attended this year to the last year, and it actually like dropped like a third. Even like the number like wasn't that big. Like yes, last year was 6,000 something. This year was almost 4,000. So like people like were reacting in that area like so much, like area of East Asia. And then here like people take it normally. And then I started to see like I started to read about the pandemic and how it spreads, and everybody's saying like, hey, don't like go to public places or don't gather in some place, take distance. Everybody's taking social distance, and I see people here are like just like forget about this, and they do totally the opposite. And even like some parliament members, I saw them, they are organizing group weddings. Like the image before this one is about group wedding of 50 bridegrooms and their families. They are like people from, it sounds like fun and nice, but not now. Like it's a charity. Like these people can't afford their own weddings, and they are poor people. And parliament members, they make it as a charity. They gather all these bridegrooms and they make for them their wedding. But I don't like. I thought like maybe that shouldn't be now. And then all of a sudden, the Arab Gulf countries and Saudi Arabia, they said that they are holding flights coming from Egypt. And that was when we started to hear that there are people coming from Egypt that has the virus, but here we don't have any news. Like we don't hear about any like cases. Just some people are locked up on a cruise ship in the Nile, and that's it. and like from this time, like it started to get serious. So people like who work at Saudi Arabia, they couldn't go there. And from that image of people like gathering at the national laboratory to get tested to prove that they have nothing so they can travel. It's the third image, I guess. No, the one before this one. So
thank you. Yeah.
this one, the national lab. So people like now they're like daily life, like their income is being affected. They can't like go back to their work. They have to stay here. They have no job opportunities here. And like they can't like also like when they start to work at the Arab Gulf and Saudi Arabia, they used to get like above average income. Now if they are getting job here in Egypt, like the income is very low compared to Saudi Arabia.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
okay,
go on.
And then this one, like I started to focus on the local workers and how these people are going to handle this situation, because like maybe wealthy people or those who can afford their like living or going somewhere to isolate themselves, that costs money. But for poor people, they can't afford the one day to stay home. Like if they stayed home, like I have talked to many people personally, and they told me that like, well, like we will die anyway. Like if we are not dying from the virus, we will die from like not having money to have food. Like what can we do? So I went to look at those people who are coming from villages and suburbs in Egypt to work in the capital of Cairo by the train. And as you see them like holding like luggage, and they are bring like some of them, I see them, they when they are coming to Cairo to work here, they get their own food with them because they can't pay for takeaway food, you know, like they might get like some vegetables from home or a piece of cheese and a bread that they make home, so he don't have to pay for his food here. And in the same time, they were so scared from the virus itself because they keep hearing about it. At the same time, like the government started to react to their life demands. They started to sanitize the train for them. They started to sanitize everything, clean everything, so these people can come to work and go back to their villages safe.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, that's one of those. Yeah, it's weird how like it's all eerily familiar. Like it's the same story. Like even hearing it from how it began in Asia and how it went to Italy and now how it's in like prevalent in the U.S. It's just all those same type of things kept happening. So with that segue, we're gonna hold off on D. I'm gonna let Ms. Clutch go first. So Jeenah, so same thing for you. So basically, when you first heard about everything, like what was your immediate reaction? What were you like, I have to go cover this? What was everything that you just went through in your mind?
I mean, it's like you know, I work like a newspaper, and then like they have some certain thing they are looking for, most of like a, you know, it's people looking for some panic or people in pain. But personally, I get the shot, but also I'm the human. When I see the people in pain, I also feel the pain, you know. So yeah, I try to find some subtle way, and then lately people a little bit uncomfortable taking a photo on the street because I have several experience lately. People like confront me, try to be physically attacked because I take a photo. So I talk to them, and then they ask me. They told me that they feel like they are the reason. They feel like they got the virus when people see their photo. You know what I mean? So Like, so yeah, when I took some photo, like a people, like a hospital, like health worker, or like the couple, I tried to be very gentle or a little far away. And then once they realized, and then I asking them, I took some photo, is that okay? And then some people is okay, comfortable. So yeah, it's a little tricky situation right now, but yeah, so it's our job. It's a have to be bring some solid work, but also you have to show my style, what I see in the pandemic situation in the city, you know. So like it's not always be sad. There's some love, like the before this, I think 2 of the photo before this slideshow, there's a couple like a hugging. There's a, you know, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's a lovely, you know, it's like love cannot stop this situation, you know. People still need to hug and then see their loved ones. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just once again, like your style and the way that you've gone about it has just been like touching, powerful, and it's really just brought that human element back to everything. So I think in the early days, we were all kind of looking at this one image and just that idea of that pain and that suffering and what people were going through, and just kind of, I don't want to say not, I think the fear that we're all feeling was like coming out. And as this pandemic has gone on increasingly, like we've been able to find that human connection again. Also, subconsciously, I feel like a lot of the editors, a lot of people in general, we just want, like, we miss that like human contact. Like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, everybody on this panel is getting a hug as soon as this is done. Like once we out of lockdown, I'm giving all y'all hugs, just letting everybody know.
Hey Brent,
yeah.
I'm sorry to break in, but this photo right here, Jeenah, I can't look at this without hearing the Beatles' Eleanor Rigby, and I don't know if everybody knows that song, but it's I played it this morning with that. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, by all means. But so let's swap over to D really quick. So you've been on the front lines of at the hospitals, back and forth, that amazing New York Times cover, shameless promotion. So what has it been like for you, like in front of the hospitals when you first heard about everything? Like, because for me, I was like, I'm gonna go back in the house, and then I like see your byline popping up, and you're like in front of a hospital. So like, what has this whole thing been like for you?
But when everything started breaking out, I was pretty much keeping an eye on it since the beginning in December when it was starting to break out in Wuhan. And I kept mentioning it to my family and friends that this was going to continue to spread. I didn't see it slowing down. So I kept bringing it up, kept trying to educate. And I was kind of prepping myself pretty in advance for what would come. I didn't think it would get this serious. I would lie if I said I did know, but I had no clue. But I was kind of already, not looking forward, but getting myself prepared for what would be coming. And it's come down to the point where I'm educating people. I have like my mom's friends. She's elderly. They're on Facebook and they're getting their news off of Facebook, and telling them. So then my mom calls me to verify, and I'm like, "No, Mom, that's a lie. That's a lie." So then she goes back and tells her friends, "No, that's a lie." So as far as being in the front line and just trying to educate people, also has been kind of like where I've been moving forward to. And as far as covering hospitals, it's been rough. You want to show the photos, you want to educate people, you want to let them see what's the horrible truth of this, but at the same time, you don't want to be disrespectful. And it's a thin line, and a lot of tempers are up. You do have people that are getting angry, security guards, people in the street, and I had a worker come up to me in Wyckoff Hospital, and he came up to me and a couple of photographers. He starts calling us vultures. He's like, "You're vultures. You're horrible." And I told him, I was like, "Slow down." I told him, I was like, "Look, let's have a conversation." And I was like, "Do you think this is fun for me? Do you think I'm doing this because I want to be out here? Do you think I'm risking myself because it's fun?" I was like, "This isn't fun. I'm not chasing a Kardashian. I'm not a paparazzi. I'm a photojournalist." I go out, I work, but at the same time, I do have a family. I have a wife. I have a son. I have a daughter that I need to worry about also. So being careful and while being in the front line is very important to me. And, you know, just being aware of not overextending myself is really important.
Yeah, so that actually was a perfect segue. Is my next question was just like, so what's the PPE situation for all of y'all? Like, what are you doing to, I guess, be safe? Like when it comes to what do you bring when you walk out the door? What are you doing when you're walking back in the door? Where are you finding PPE at this point? Or did you have it already? Because I know for me, I went to the post office like last week and I like freaked out coming back home. Like there's like 3 people in there and I had a mask on. I still came back home, stripped up all my clothes, and basically burned them. So what are you all doing to like stay safe out there? What's in your kit now?
So when I come back from work, so I have a little like a outside hallway. So I took everything, my gear bag and shoes and coat outside, and then bring the sanitizer spray. Just spray and then let it sit for 30 minutes. And then like I bring my camera inside from my bag and then just wipe it. And then, yes, I constantly using my sanitizer like every 10 minutes, I think. Yeah, I try to do more, but my hands is super dry right now. It's like, I almost like I feel like my hands is become like a wood, you know, like super dry. But yeah, I try to keep my hands is my priority. So I also rent a car. So after I finish work, when I get in, I just spray first before or when I come back. So, and I feel, yeah, I've been covering since the beginning. I'm very surprised. I don't get sick or anything, feel uncomfortable for fever, anything. So it's kind of a blessing for me. So, yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, so like just wash your hand, and then yeah, the most of the thing I talk to the health worker, they say like yeah, I know like the government or like a TV keep telling to using the N95 mask, but I say anything you can cover is still okay. So as long as you cover your face, and then just don't touch your face on your hand, whatever you can redoing it. So yeah, I think that should be fine. That's my experience so far. So.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I was gonna say Xyza. That's why I want to go to you next.
oh yeah. Well, for me, I photograph healthcare workers in the Philippines going around, and sometimes I feel really embarrassed that I'm wearing N95s and goggles. I have the complete set, and these people are wearing, who should be wearing the proper protections, are wearing cloth masks. So there's this, I don't know, I feel really embarrassed because they should be wearing what I'm wearing, but because they don't have it, with the story that I did, they were like going around checking people under investigations or people under monitoring with a possible case of COVID, and they're just using face masks, cloth masks. Meanwhile, me, I'm wearing N95, and the situation now is a little bit difficult. But with my practice, I separated from my dad physically, and then I don't even bring my cameras inside, and I'm Asian. We don't bring shoes inside the house. So it's always been a practice. It's an Asian thing. So we don't bring shoes inside the house, and then I go directly to the shower. I disinfect everything, and I don't really feel safe just wearing a cloth mask, especially when I'm dealing with people who might have the virus. So there's a lot of practices that I've learned from doctors as well. They were telling me that you don't talk to people who are not wearing masks. That's the most important rule that they taught me. Like, even though they're trying to tell you an important story, you got to remember they're not wearing masks, so they're not protecting you. So the mask works in a way that the wearer protects the other person and vice versa. So my number one rule is never talking to people without masks.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's Yeah, and and I have this silly idea, like starting to spray people in the face with alcohol if they refuse to wear a mask. I'm like, bad dog, bad dog. I'm just kidding.
Hey, so I'm guessing like my whole like turn sideways and just talk like this is not gonna help. That doesn't help. That
No.
was my thing. Like I got a neighbor, he wants to come by. He's like, "Hey, bro, what's going on?" I'm like, "Yo, man, what's happening? How are you doing today?" I can't look you directly in the face because like droplets.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
turn your back, walk
all
away.
right, all right, we're not gonna deal with those folks anymore. You know, shout out to Daniel. I love you, but from a distance. So my next question is, unless all you guys want to like say something different about what you're doing to protect yourself. So all of you all are independent photographers. And so historically, the way is always like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go out and make some photos. I'm gonna try to find this story. But like, how has that changed for you all? Like, are you all like working on assignments for organizations? Are you just like kind of going after what you see fit and then just trying to pitch it back to an organization, news outlet, something like that? I mean, I know Gabriele, your process was amazing and different. But like, how are these things matriculating at this point?
So as far as for me, it's been a mix of assignments and pretty much pitching.
Same for me.
The photos that got on the front cover of the Times, I ended up pitching those. You know, shopped them around. Times picked them up. Had a couple of people that were interested, but Times came in first, so send it to you guys. And pretty much everything else I've been covering has been mostly for Getty. Getty has, I give big props to Getty. They've been taking care of me, you know, as far as offering me PPEs and, you know, hazard pay, so forth. I know some publications aren't doing that much, which is really sad. You know, photographers are risking their lives to get these stories. It's only right for the publications to back them up and, you know, showing that support. Yeah, that's as much as I have to say about that.
Yeah, I would say it's more or less the same for me as well. I mean, I work like 50-50 assignments and pitching. And I work a lot for many European magazines. And in the US, I mostly work for Nat Geo recently. So it's been 4 years that most of my stories have been published by them. So, and I would say 50-50, like pitching and assignments.
Okay, all right. So one thing I want to go back to like kind of you got something to go for it.
Well, I applied for a grant because I applied to the Pulitzer Center grant to be able to do stories here in my native country. Because sometimes it's really difficult to pitch stories when, you know, it's a rural story, when there's something more bigger happening in the cities. But I really fought for it. So I applied for a Pulitzer grant, and I think it's easier for editor when they don't need to pay for it. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking.
No, I mean, you ain't telling no lies. But
yeah, I applied for grants, and luckily Pulitzer Center believe in the story. CNN, I work with CNN with this, and they love the story, and the Nation as well pick it up. So I think when it's good to have those kinds of grants that will support independent photojournalists like me, like us, you know.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another way of doing it, I think.
And so just to like piggyback off that, because you literally led me into my next question, how is this different from a lot of things that you covered? Because this is literally in your backyard. Like everyone here is covering this story in the country that they call home, where it's not like I started with like you could fly off somewhere, you're going to tell the story far away, but like this is affecting you, this is affecting like this is affecting your mom, you know, like Xyza, this is affecting, like you can't see your father. So like how has that changed the way that you're documenting this? Does it change the way that you feel about what's going on? Does it change the story for you? Does it make it, is it hitting home just that much closer?
Yeah, it hit really, I feel like it's too close. It's really under my skin because it's a difficult decision, you know, like I would love to stay home and just lie down and just wait for it, write it out. I would love to do that. But also as I go out and meet these people, I felt a little bit of responsibility to do this. And it's actually the first time that I did a story in my own backyard, aside from what I did before. But I think it's stronger because it's home. It's photographing home, and the risk is too much. We're not just risking their life, but we're also risking other, my life and our family's life. So doing these kinds of stories in our own backyard is a little bit more difficult, but I think it taught me to be more sensitive because I can't run away from these people. I'm gonna see them again. Right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna see them again. So that kind of sensitivity is needed because I can't just take their photos and run away. I'm not parachuting, I'm photographing home. So it's really different.
I think it's away from its being a risk, it's visually challenging because now that COVID virus is hitting the whole world almost the same way. So like you almost see somehow similar images visually speaking, using the same visual language or the visual grammar to convey the same exact story. And the main challenge now is how you can tell something different from what you see every day on the news. Like now, when you open the news anytime, you see someone is sanitizing something or someone is wearing the mask or like, okay, that's COVID, like how can we get beyond that? So I think for me, it's somehow challenging and makes you think creatively and in the same time to protect yourself. That's away from being like photographing home is challenging because what you see every day is almost like something like you get blind from. So yeah, like I think it makes your mind works a lot these days.
Yeah, no, it's, oh, hold on. Joe's trying to say something.
Sorry about that. I wanted to ask Hamada a question. When you were showing those pictures of the crowds in the early stages of the outbreak, were you wearing PPE or were you wearing a mask when you were shooting those?
At the very beginning, nobody was wearing a mask. Like I was acting as normal people, but later when things start to get more serious, first of all, I started to avoid crowded places myself or being distant. And the thing about wearing mask, we have here like conflicting thoughts about it. Like some governments will tell you like you have to wear a mask. The WHO will tell you like don't wear a mask. So I think like when I get into crowd now, I have to put on a mask. I sanitize my hands or wear gloves. I don't mix with my parents. I just stay on my own here in my studio. So yeah, at the early stages, no, but later I started to do whenever I get in touch with people.
Yeah, no, and that also goes into a second thing I wanted to know. Well, I guess my next question was like, what do you wish you all would have known, like when this first broke out, like when you first started photographing, it's like, what is that one thing that you wish you would have known? Like, I mean, people rated hand sanitizer left and right, but like when it comes out to working, like what do you wish you would have known? Especially for my my New York folks, they need to know. And so all of you all, the other three, have kind of like seen this a little bit further. So like, what do you wish you have known a month ago? Oh my God, it's only been a month. Okay, but yeah, a month, 2 months ago when it first broke out.
I think I wish I knew what exactly we will need for like to protect ourselves, like because when the broke out happened, all these like sanitizing material were out from the market. The masks were out. I had to, like, I was live on one of the Instagram accounts of photography schools here. I was showing them how can I score some masks from the black market. So people, yeah, like this is how it happens. And like you go and there is a guy on the back bush, you go pay him extra money so he can get the masks and right sanitizers. And then later I found like students sending me like, hey, can we get his contact? Is he safe guy? Like, are there police around? Like, you know, like it was crazy at the very beginning, but now like the military and the government started to make to make it allowed. They sell it in their markets. The military here has its own market, so they make this allowed for people. Now people can go buy it with normal prices. So I think, yeah, like I wish I knew how to get that at the very beginning, or I wish that we had these things at home. Like, I don't know, like what we should have at home for situations like this.
Yeah, the same here in Italy. I think 2 months ago, I would have liked to buy some masks because it was impossible to find masks for a month here. So really impossible. I went, I checked to, I don't know, hundreds of different pharmacies and it was impossible. So for the first week or two, I didn't wear any mask. So I was actually risking something, but, you know, but yes, I was photographing people through the window. So I was taking low risks. I was not going to photograph people in the hospitals or, you know, in the crowds. And then luckily, one of the person that I photographed had some storage of masks, and he gave me a few. He said, "Okay, you are not wearing a mask. You're crazy. So I can give you a few of mine." And it was really nice. But yeah, that's something that I now I think I for the future, hopefully something like this is not gonna happen again ever. But it's better to have some, you know, some equipment at home, like masks and stuff, because yeah, for the first 2 weeks, I didn't have any.
I'm going to break in real quick and remind folks, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen. We're going to go to audience in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, cool. So what I want to talk about was Xyza's been doing some really amazing work, and you've been actually like giving back like that. I want to talk to you about that because I mean, for myself and pretty much everyone else, I'm just sitting around at home like, oh my God, what can I do? I want to do something. I want to give back. I want to do more than just be able to like push a story out or get some amazing photos that help educate folks. But like you've been doing some amazing work. So let's hear a little bit about how that all came together with getting PPE out.
Well, the best part of like doing stories, I think the best part of being a journalist is when the story have impact with the wider public. So when the story came out at the CNN, a lot of people messaged me asking how they can send masks and PPEs to the people I photographed. And it was insane. A lot of them sent money to them. They sent masks, alcohols, everything that they need. And then I think I want to do more. So I've been like sending the link to people that I know. So I was like, hey, look at this, read this story. And then it just like makes them like, oh my God, what can we do? And I'm like, okay, you can contact them. And then that makes me feel good actually, because I think that's why we do our stories, right? For the impact to the community that we serve in some kind of way. I think our stories can serve these people, not just, I think it's something that is bigger than us. It's not just about putting stories out, but it's something that can actually serve the community that we photograph. Yeah. it's fun. I'm now officially a person who holds a lot of masks and giving it away to them. Like I feel like a millionaire. Like, yeah, masks.
It's like Oprah. It's like, you get a mask, and you get a mask, and you get a mask.
Correct. It's fun.
Well, no, I just want to, like, first off, just thank you for that, because that was one of those pieces of this puzzle. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's the way that journalists do more, and then we have the ability to give back. And so thanks for bringing that awareness and that education and just finding ways to, like, help the people on the front lines, like, regardless of where they are. So I want to, let me go to all this, all your own time, like, just chime in on this one. So, like, what are y'all doing to stay sane? Like, y'all have seen some crazy stuff out there, like from the streets of Milan being completely empty to being in front of hospitals and seeing them bring bodies out of the deceased, to just being in a crowd of folks like Hamad, and just not being able to know where this enemy is coming from. Because this is one of those stories that we really can't see the enemy. Like, we don't know where it's at and how it can come, and how we can be affected. This isn't like a regular, like, a conflict situation where, like, this is the good guys, these are the bad guys that don't understand. So, like, how are you all keeping yourself, like, sane, like, decompress? Like, we're all worried about, like, coming home clean gear, but, like, how you keep yourself mentally, like, motivated? Because at this point, I want to sit in my robe and eat bonbons for, like, the next 6 months.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because actually yesterday it's been like a nonstop shooting for like 9 days straight. And, it's been like 12, 14-hour days. I'm not complaining, I could do it. But, yesterday I was feeling a little bit of burnout, and I called Mike Camber. I was like, hey, when you were in Iraq, how did you handle this, not getting burnt out? He was like, I've never ran into anything like this. He was like, at the end of this, you're gonna have to give me advice.
Wow.
So pretty much, taking a couple of days off at a time, not just not going home, not going outside during that time. I locked in yesterday, went, got some groceries, picked up some beers, came home, locked in, and, I won't be leaving the house till Monday when I have my next assignment, And yeah, just pretty much just trying to give yourself a little bit of time to decompress and just do stuff that, you enjoy. Watch a movie, watch some cartoons. I watch cartoons. So, so
What cartoons?
I watch anime. So, and just decompressing that way,
Yeah. Yeah, Jeenah, this is the same question to you. How are you dealing with everything? Because, I mean, I see your name pop up all the time. Like, yeah, so how are you, like, getting away from it?
So, all the image is very, like, strong, and then, it's very impact visually. So when I go home, I usually don't watch any news, or I'm not even turn on the screen. I just look at the view, like, go out, because I have a dog. I have to take him out to walk around. So that's kind of like that 30 minutes is my, like, a spiritual ritual moment. So a little bit get away, and then try not think about work for tomorrow. And then, yeah, just for 2 hours, I usually turn off my laptop, and then I don't even hear anything. Like, I know, like, even the people, like, talk to me and hey, how was your work today? And then, like, yeah, I'm not even try to make a fun, like, some stupid joke, and then try to avoid that topic. So yeah, and then, yeah, just relax, and then I call my family is very important for me. So they call me very, yeah, actually they don't want me to go out, but like, don't go out, don't work, right? But, well, that's my job, So
Gotta
yeah,
eat.
but the way they support me is give me the very big support. So yeah, so those things, this is very simple, but they are very helpful for me. So I don't know if that helps for you guys.
Yeah. Good.
So I think
Take notes.
I think what keeps me motivated is that like the amount of the stories that we have to tell now, and that mental challenge that you have to. There is something that you have to get around all the time. That how to protect yourself, how to protect this person. I guess like for all of us as photographers, especially those who focus on documentary photography, try to get as much close as they can. But this time we cannot get that close to people because of the social distance. And like, I think these kind of the challenges that makes us produce like creative work like what Gabrielle was doing, keeping distance from people, or like trying to get home to them but not actually in home, and this is how you get home to people now. And I think like all of that, it makes us always a challenge. For me myself, like I try to get emotionally close to people but keep distance. Thanks God we have phones in our cameras, or we have like complex lenses that can bring us closer. I used to use wide lenses. Now the telephoto lens is giving you different dimensions. It makes you think differently. So like I think for me, like it's taking a little bit time to adapt to the new situation, but it's good. Like it makes me does many things that adds to me. Like I have to keep reading, look at people's work that they produce from telephoto lenses, or things like that. It just like I try to fill my time with the things. Also, the bills that we have to pay by the end of the month makes us always motivated, you know.
So
Rent is due.
I'm gonna break in and take our first question from the audience. Mark Smith, if you are out there, I have just unmuted you. Go ahead, Mark.
I think you're still muted.
Down at the bottom of your screen, there should be a place for you to unmute.
Yes, hello.
Go ahead.
Hello.
I had a question for Xyza. If she encountered any harassment by the Philippine police during her encounters at the hospitals or just along the way with covering the virus story?
Well, it's a rural story and everyone knows each other. So I think I have the advantage of knowing I asked permission from the mayor first before I even go out. So I have a proper paperwork to show them so that they will not even harass me. And then I printed my press ID, like the biggest I could print it. So that it's not like when they see it's press, they will not harass me. And I have the proper paperwork. And as it's a small town, I think everyone knows everybody. So it's an advantage for me to have that. But I did experience that when I went to Manila. Like, I got into a shouting argument because the person who wants to check my temperature is too close. And I'm like, nah, you're not getting that close to me. And but he was like, yeah, but you need to do it. I'm like, yeah, but you're not following rules. So that's more like a little argument because they're not following their own rules. So there were some moments in Manila that I had that encounter because even them doesn't know what, some of them doesn't know what the distance should be because they need to check your temperature, like they do that on your forehead, but they're like leaning on you, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that. And started like a shouting argument. But I think the important part on covering this is making sure that you have all the access and the paperwork, especially at this time because it's a very sensitive story to tell.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Next, I'm going to butcher your name. I apologize in advance. Ibunolu Akinbo. Sorry about that. If you're there, go ahead and ask your question. You need to unmute yourself first, though.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Hi.
Okay, hi everyone. So I've actually been thinking of what a post-COVID-19 story would look like. Is it going to like be the same or just like be a juxtaposition of like a before and after? Because I feel like I'm still like a bit skeptical if things will return to normal or there will be issue. So for independent photographers, like what would a post-COVID-19 story be like for you?
Thank you for the question. I think she's at, I mean, if you heard the question, it was what is the post-COVID-19 story? Like, what are you already thinking about projects in your mind about tackling as soon as it's quote unquote back to normal?
I think on everybody's topic is going to be, you know, returning to this new normal, because things will never be the same again. There's going to be a whole new normal, and just documenting that. And I think a lot of people are just going to be so desperate to be close to other people that we're going to see a lot of personal projects and really up close projects coming out of this.
Yeah, I think the same. I think, of course, the world is not going to be the same like we knew it before. So there are a lot of things that are going to change. And so I think we can probably make projects about the new normality, or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, personally, I'm already thinking about new projects. And I don't know exactly what, because we don't know how the new normality will be. So, but I think I want to focus on that. I'm sure it's gonna change a lot of things.
I think many people, like not many, but like there are people who will party hard. I think like that is possible too. I know many people like they are waiting for the moment that this is over so like they can go to the nightclub and like hit the dancing ground and like do all the fun things that they couldn't do. Maybe people will go to the beaches now. Beaches and swimming pools are closed. All public gatherings, all these like big parties and concerts that has been canceled. These people need to get money back. I think like they will be back, and if there is no wisdom control on that, I think like that's like a personal opinion, but like I hope that this will be, but I think like it could be something like that because everybody's waiting to make money and have fun.
So the next question is from username U683CL. If you're out there, I've just unmuted you. Go ahead and ask your question. I'll read. Oh, are you there? Okay. The question that this person put in was, how difficult is it in these times and with this topic to report facts versus what seems to be a trend in the media the general public recognizes as using words to instill fear or add drama? Do you find challenges in your career regarding what you want to report and how it is reported? How do you navigate this? Respectfully asking, and granted, it's a legit situation. Anybody want to tackle that? Brent, how about you, Brent? You're a photo editor. You've got a perspective from the desk.
Yeah, that's why when I heard this question, I think for a moment I was like, oh, my heart. But I mean, the thing is that at least from my point of view, like we've never been sparking, like poking, trying to spark up fear, trying to wrangle something. I think what might get mistaken for was for, I guess, kind of like that, to make a little fear mongering, is the idea that like we just didn't know. I think that was the overall thing. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, we know the media is just making everyone scared, making everyone terrified. But I think it was more or less just like we reported what we knew, and that wasn't enough for a lot of people. It wasn't enough for us. Which means we kept going, we kept working more, we kept going after more information, because that's the only way we're actually going to know what's going on. So if it comes out as fear mongering, I apologize. But like we're figuring this out just like everyone else, one day at a time. Only difference is we can ask those questions to the White House. We can ask those questions to Fauci. We can ask those questions to China to find out how this began and what have you all known. And we can look at our people in Italy and be like, what you prepared for. So I don't think there's an issue of us reporting it accurately. I don't think there's this issue of us not reporting it, like over-reporting in a way and blowing out proportion, because as we have seen, it has become a pandemic. It has taken hundreds of thousands of lives. And it's not at the point of letting up just yet. So I don't think we've been pushing this idea of fear. We've been pushing this irrational tendency. I think we've just been figuring this thing out as it changes day by day.
Very good.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, please.
I do think that my medical friends always said this to me before I made the decision to go out. If you're not scared, don't even try to go out, because these are doctors who are like fighting for everyone to survive this, because they for them, when you deal with it in a way that, it's just a virus, or if you deal it in a very lax way, then that's when people die. I mean, it's not only about you, it's also about other people who are immunosuppressed, who don't have health insurance. So and when it comes to like fear mongering, I do think people need to realize that reporting is supported by data. Like as Brent have said, hundreds of thousands of people have died. I'm sorry, I'm getting angry about this because it's supported by data. I have 4 friends who died because of coronavirus. That's not fear mongering. That is reality. I'm sorry, that's our reality. And these are even underreported. They now became part of statistics, just statistics. But these 4 friends who are close to me, they just are gone. And we don't, I haven't even reported about it. I can't report about it. So it's not just about fear mongering. It's not about that. It's more like, it's something new. It's something that everyone is dealing with. That's why it's called novel coronavirus. It's new. We don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, sorry.
It's all right. Steve Edwards. Steve, if you are out there, I am unmuting you. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Joe, thank you. This is to the panel. Listening to you all, I'm just curious to the experiences that you had, how this has changed you as a storyteller, photographer, personally, professionally. Thank you.
I try. I think for myself, it's still too early to understand how this experience has changed me as a person or as a photographer. But so I don't have an answer. I think it's probably too early because everything is too new, and of course it's changing. Personally, maybe it's changing myself a lot because I never experienced something like this, like missing my friend so much and missing my family so much, because it's been 40 days that I don't see anybody. I mean, except through the windows when I was photographing them. But I'm a person that I like to be together with people and my friends. I want to hug my friends. I want to hug my mother and my sister. And I cannot. It's been 40 days that I don't see them, and maybe it's gonna be like this for other 1 or 2 months. Who knows? We don't know exactly when we can go out and hug again. And so personally, this is changing myself a lot, and maybe, I don't know yet, but it's going to change my way of working as well, because like 90% of my projects, everything that I've done in the past 10 or 15 years, are portraits and portrait based, and I always like to meet the people that I have to photograph way before I photograph them. I want to know them, I want to spend time with them, and then I'm able to take their portraits. And maybe right now this is not something that I can do. This is not possible, and that's why I decided to photograph friends and people that I already knew, because at least there was already a connection with them, and in this moment that I cannot connect with new people. And so I don't know, let's see, I hope we can have another conversation like this in 1 or 2 months, and maybe I can have an answer at that time.
Thank you.
For me, I learned not to take anything for granted. Like there are many scenes that I used to see on my normal days that I maybe like act lazy. I don't want to bring my camera now, or I just like had a long day. I don't want to take a photo of that. But now, like whenever I see something, like I just like, okay, if I didn't do it now, maybe I wouldn't be able to do it anytime again. So like it encouraged me to like keep shooting. Now like maybe I'm overwhelmed with photographs, but like I'm a little bit like afraid to miss these scenes that we see now. Like not like I wouldn't miss like the actual like the pandemic, but like you never know like what else you'll miss.
Here's a question that it's an anonymous attendee, so I'm not going to unmic them. But the question is there a single image of yours or another photographer that captures the decisive moment of the COVID-19 pandemic? What have you seen out there that's really knocked your socks off or hit you in the heart?
I don't think I've had time to see anybody else's work, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like I look at pictures all day. And I actually just thought about this probably like earlier this week, and I just haven't had time to internalize and like go through the hundreds of thousands of photos I've seen to be like, that was one that just stuck with me. I just think it's a lot. It's a lot going on, and I haven't not one yet has hit me in the gut, just because there's been so many different aspects to this. This isn't for me just like it's a health crisis, and then on the other side, it's for my day job, I'm also like in the business desk, so I know the economic repercussions of all of this and how we're going into this recession right now and how people are like losing their jobs. So then those empty streets are like terrifying me, because I know those used to be busy. So I don't think there's been a photo yet that's actually like fully punched me in the gut. It's just been a lot of like small jabs that have just been getting me for like the past 4 months. I mean, 4 months, Jesus Christ, 4 weeks. Woo! It's been a long month.
Knock on wood.
Like a year. Yeah.
It feels, yeah. March was a long year. But yeah, so it's just been a bunch of like small jabs of just amazing photos that I've seen, but I can't pinpoint you to one. I can just, yeah, it's been a lot. Let's have that conversation in I guess a few months. Yeah, let's bring that back.
So we're running out of time, and there's a lot of good questions in there. I'm really sorry we don't have time to answer them all. The ones that I can get to, I will. And there was a question there about mental health and what people are doing to take care of their mental health. We addressed that a little bit earlier in the show, but if anybody wants to have a closing thought on that topic, please feel free to share. Maybe somebody out there needs to hear, how to cope with things and can get a lesson from what you're doing.
I think for me,
Go ahead.
I think for me, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to cry, to be sad about this, because I have never cried about something in my entire life. Like every time I go back home, I was like, this is too much, and I cry. And I do that, and then the next morning I'm gonna go out again and do it again, and then at nighttime I'm gonna cry again. But I do think it's okay, and acknowledging that it's okay to cry, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to grieve is important for our own mental health. And another way to do that, if you want to bury it in the deepest of your soul, is watch Korean TV shows on Netflix. They're good. So that's what I've been doing. Just watch Korean TV shows on Netflix, and it's just like makes me forget that there's coronavirus outside. That's one thing that I can just advise people to start doing.
Yeah, for me, I think I paint too. Like I do things like this, colorful, and I work out. Maybe I just get away from news. That what keeps you like more sane, and like get over the things that we see every day.
I think it's we are in the health way. I mean, I hope like we passed the worst part right now. So I think the most important thing for us, the journalist or whoever, I think the thinking positive is the best way. If you keep thinking everything going to be negative, and then it's getting worse and worse. So yeah, just keep positive and then just move forward. You know, it's like we're not gonna be stuck into the pandemic forever or like 1 year, you know. So just move forward. If we stick stuck into the pandemic, how we enjoy or how we doing it, even though we are still living with the pandemic, but we have to figure out our own way, the social relationship, or you know, like going out or doing some business in the wisely, you know. So yeah, just thinking positive, the best way.
Yeah.
I think just speaking, you know, staying in contact with your friends, be it via Zoom, you know, chat. I think that's a big factor. It helps. It keeps you somewhat connected. You're able to continue to keep some type of social contact with the world and some type of normalcy, and continue to, you know, adapt to the new world, to the new world order.
Yeah, the same here. I think we actually have, I mean, personally, I'm super busy in these days because I always go out and take photos and working on a new project, but I spent 2 weeks completely isolated at home. And so it was difficult to be, you know, always awake and happy because I'm here alone. But I think having so much free time could be also an opportunity to learn new things. There are a few new things that you can learn at home. Like I'm trying to learn French, for example, and I never had time to study. And now I said maybe this is a good time to try to do something new. Or you know, you can learn a new language, or play an instrument, or you can learn how to cook something that you don't know how to cook. It's not easy, but we can use this time for, you know, new things. And it's not gonna last forever. So this is something that we have to know. We don't know if it's gonna be for 2 weeks or 2 months or 1 year, but we know that it's gonna end somehow and some time.
I think what we all have in common, that we keep ourselves away from news, even when we produce it.
Yeah.
So this is the only way to make it better.
Yeah. And one of the big things that a friend of a friend told me about, who was in Singapore. What was it? Oh, okay. Just what he did to get by was really just focus on the present. Don't look forward to what's going to happen in the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month, when it's just going to be. Just be focused on right now. Like, just be in this moment. We know that it might not be what we thought we'd be doing in, April, May, but like, just be where we are now and just take that in and just look for those little small silver linings that are there. There might not be the silver linings we expected or we wanted, but like, they're there. And so let's just focus on that. Get with people we can via Zoom meetings or whatever hangouts we can do, and just talk to folks on the phone, and then just relax. We're gonna get through this. We always do somehow. I don't know how, but we're resilient people. So
thank you. And I know Jeenah has to leave for an assignment, and I wanted to wrap this up by thanking everyone before she takes off, especially. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you especially for being out there and telling this story. It's so important. And
be safe, Jeenah.
Thank you, guys. Be safe
really,
for you.
and I think everyone, speaking for everyone, we really appreciate that. We'll be posting tonight's video on our YouTube page. It's also going to be saved on our Facebook page, so you'll be able to catch parts that you missed or watch it again. And we couldn't do this show without the financial help of our sponsors. We really appreciate them sticking with us even after our in-person festival disappeared and we had to cancel it. They stuck with us, and it allows us to bring these shows for free on Zoom. So Fujifilm, Tamron, Multiple Exposures Gallery, Peak Design, Capital Photography Center. Thank you. We've got a couple shows coming up this week. On Wednesday, we've got a fun discussion about music photography. Next Friday, we're going to tackle the copyright and Instagram issue. I know some of the panelists here have set your Instagram on private as sort of a one, a protest, and two, to protect your work. So we've got some people joining us for that. On Friday, it's going to be a great discussion. Go to our website. You'll get the link to sign up. Thank you to Shelley, who's been manning the chat. Thank you to Chantal, who has been on Facebook, keeping us engaged there. Thank you again to all the panelists. Brent, I'm going to leave you last word.
Just thank you all for everything you do. Like, if it wasn't for the people on this call, the people who are watching this, the photographers across the world telling the story, we wouldn't know what's going on. So from the bottom of my heart, I want you all to stay safe. I love you all, and just keep up the good work. And whatever you all need, there's a whole community around you all. So please be safe, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Bye.
Stay home. Bye.